Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome back to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. We are currently on chapter 9, which is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. Until now, we have completed up to verse number 15. And in the last session, we were talking about verse number 7 to 15. So, in that beginning verses of last session, we looked at Lord's inconceivable potencies. So, we saw that how at the end of the millennium, everything enters into Lord's nature. So, the destruction happens to the Lord. And then at the beginning of the millennium, he again creates everything. And even though he's doing this creation also, and the previous verses we had seen that he also does maintenance. So creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Although he's doing all of these things, he doesn't get any reactions for it. And the reason is because he always remains neutral and aloof. And we saw that similarly, if we also remain neutral and aloof, then we will also not get any result or reactions of the activities that we are doing. Then the Lord explained the difference between Duratmas and Mahatmas. Duratmas actually deride the Supreme Lord when he appears in his human-like form. And they do not understand at that time that the Lord is transcendental. And they think that, oh, he has just come into the human form. And sometimes they think that the Maya has covered the absolute truth. And that is when this form of Lord Shri Krishna and Lord of Krishna and the form of Lord Ram has come from it. So it is, and the Lord explained what is going to be the result. He had given the generic principle before. In the fourth chapter, we saw that he has mentioned that ye yathamam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. That as you surrender unto me, I'll reciprocate with you accordingly. So if you think that Krishna's form is material, then okay, Krishna will say that, okay, I will also keep your form as material. And that is how these people who think that Krishna's form is material will remain in this material world in the cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. Whereas Mahatmas are different. They do not divert their attention at all on anything else apart from Krishna. And we saw Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. They are always engaged in the chanting of Lord's glories. And they are endeavoring with great determination. And they are always bowing down before the Lord, and they're perpetually worshipping Krishna with devotion. And such people are called Mahatmas. Then in the 15th verse, which was the last verse that we saw last time, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually identified that there are three levels of the devotees or Krishna worshippers. The topmost worshippers were these Mahatmas that were mentioned in 14th verse. The next level are the four Sukrutinas, which were mentioned in the 7th chapter that we have already seen. And then there are three kind of jnanis who are worshipping the Supreme Lord are mentioned. They are like in the verse number 15, they are the third level. And out of those three kinds of people as well, it is explained that there is also categorization or levels in that. So Vishwato Mukham, which is what we are going to see today, starting from the 16th verse. So Vishwato Mukham worshippers are worshipping the Supreme Lord in the form of in the universal form. They are seeing the Lord everywhere in the material nature. So in the lowest level of worship, they are the highest. Then comes the Pruthaktwena. Pruthaktwena means they are seeing Krishna in different forms, in devata forms. They are devata worshippers. They are situated lower than the Vishwatomukham worshippers, but higher than the Ekatvena worshippers, which are the lowest. Ekatvena means they are the monist. They are worshipping themselves as the Supreme Lord because they are thinking that they are also Atma is, they are thinking Atma, there is no difference between Atma and Paramatma. So we will just worship ourselves because once we become purified, we will become the Supreme Lord. So they are called the Ekatvena worshippers. They are the lowest amongst all these worshipping people. So already we have seen in the 11th and 12th verse, the Lord has explained about these Ekatvena worshippers. Um, Today we are going to look at these other two, the Vishwatomukham and the Prathaktvena. So Devata worshippers and the worshippers of the universal form, or seeing Krishna everywhere in the material nature. So we'll start from verse number 16. अहं क्रतुरहं यज्ञः स्वदाहम् अहम् औषधम् मन्त्रो मन्त्रोऽहम् अहमेवाज्यम् अहम् अग्निरहं हुतम्. Who wants to read the translation? Yes, Shivani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So there was a similar verse that we have seen earlier in the 4th chapter. If you go to 4.24, the verse was also similar. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahmakarma samadhina. And the translation there was, a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So there as well, the Lord was saying that whatever the yajna is also him, and whatever you are offering into the yajna is also him. And there he had used the word Brahma. He was saying that that is Brahma, this is Brahma, everything is Brahma. And here he is saying that I am that. So that means Brahman and Krishna, they are not different. He says afterwards that he is the basis of the Brahman. The Brahman is nothing but the light that comes from Krishna's body, the Bhagwan's body, the light that comes out, the effulgence that comes out, that is Brahman. Uh, that was the Brahman that was mentioned here. But here Krishna says, Aham, 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 I am that. And it is said that I am the ritual, I am the sacrifice. Everything that you are using in sacrifice is Krishna. So the ritual that you are doing for the sacrifice, that is Krishna. Then the sacrifice that you create, like the Yajna Kunda that you create, is Krishna. Then the offering to the ancestors, that what you are putting inside that, that is also Krishna. The herbs that you are putting in the yajna, that is also Krishna. The chanting that you do, the mantras that you are chanting, that is also Krishna. The butter, fire, and the offering, everything is Krishna. So especially all these yajnas are explained in Vedas in the Karma Kanda ceremonies. And people do a lot of these yajnas for achieving something, that they want this, they want that, some material result that they want. And for that material result, they will do this yajna. And if they do it properly, then they get the result for what they are looking for. So Krishna is saying that uh, all of these that you are offering in the yajna or in the karmakanda ceremony is actually me. So why you are actually doing this to, sometimes you do it for other devatas as well, this karmakanda yajnas. So everything that is coming is from me. So it is you worship it in the universal form. So in the worshipping the universal form, you can see now this next 4 verses that we are seeing, including the current verse. Krishna is everything. So that is what is the vision of the universal form worshipper. So they are worshipping Krishna in and they are looking at Krishna from this material perspective. They are seeing everything that they can see is material. So they say They see that this nature is Krishna, this ocean is Krishna, these trees are Krishna. So here in the Karma Kanda sacrifice, everything is Krishna. So everything used in the Vedic sacrifice of Karma Kanda is Krishna. That is their vision. Let us see what else they see as Krishna. In verse number 17. पिता पिताहम् अस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रम् ओंकार रुक्सामयजुरेव च. Okay, Vibhor Prabhuji. Okay, there are four in that sequence you can do. Vibhor Prabhuji, then Mahendra Prabhuji, and there was Vidushi Mataji as well, and then Margi Mataji. Those
Hare
two.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay.
I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grand grandseer. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Raj, the Sam, and the Yajur Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Rig, Sam, and Yajurveda are mentioned here. So Krishna is actually also saying that I am all these relationships that you have. So Mata, Pita, Pitamaha, and that is true because if you actually look at it into details, so for this material world, the Mata and Pita are considered as Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. So Mother Parvati is nothing but the material energy, and this material energy is working under Krishna's Adhyakshana, Maya Adhyakshana Prakriti. And Lord Shiva is nothing but the servant of the Supreme Lord, and he's also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. So, from that perspective, Mata and Pita of everyone in this material world is Krishna. Also, Pitamaha. Now, sometimes Pitamaha is referred to Brahma, but his father is also Krishna. So, that way, he is a grandsire, that he is the origin of everyone. So, all the relationship that we actually see in this material world, they can also be seen as Krishna. Then it is said that I am the object of the knowledge. So, the Vedas are coming from Krishna. So, the knowledge is coming from Krishna. And the object of knowledge is different from the knowledge. So, for example, when we go to schools and say engineering colleges or whatever, we get some education. But how many people go to college to become an engineer so that they can get that knowledge? Their object of knowledge is getting the job and getting the money. So the knowledge is different and object of knowledge is different. So Vedas is the knowledge. So source of Vedas is Krishna. And what is the object of knowledge? Object of knowledge of all of that knowledge that we are getting from Vedas is actually to attain Krishna, to go back to Krishna's abode and become purified and come to that stage where you are similar to Krishna from the perspective of the quality. That we are actually same in the quality. Quantity is different. He is also Satchidananda, we are also Satchidananda. But currently we are covered by the material energy. That is why our Satchidananda Rupa is not visible. So this knowledge that we are getting, by that we can get purified and we can come to that same quality. Those qualities will be reflected back or they can be exposed again. And then we can actually achieve the supreme abode of Krishna in Vaikuntha or Goloka. So object of knowledge is Krishna. And the purifier, like the purification process that we talked about, that is also Krishna. So everything is Krishna, as it is mentioned in this verse. Then let us go and see what else. Mahendra Prabhu, you have a question, that's why you have raised your hand, or is this for
No,
reading the
Prabhuji, it's for
translation?
reading.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. So we are going to the next verse now, 18th verse. गतिर्भर्त्रा गतिर्भर्ता प्रभु साक्षी निवासः शरणं सुहृत् प्रभवा प्रलयास्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम्. Who
Hare
was it?
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, and the resting place and the eternal seed. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So here, Krishna has mentioned that he is the goal. So Gati. Uh, so I'm the goal, I'm the sustainer, the master, witness, abode, refuge. So it is like he's the basis of everything. So he's the cause of all causes and he's the basis of everything. That is what is Krishna is mentioning here. He's the cause of all causes. Then let's move on to the next verse. Tapamya tapamyaham aham varsham nighrunnatmya utsrujami cha amrutam chaiva mrityuscha sadasachaham arjuna.
O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. So both spirit and matter are in me. So this is so spirit is also Krishna and matter is also Krishna. And sometimes we generally say that, oh, Krishna is all spiritual and there is no matter or whatever. But if you see that origin of the matter is also Krishna, right? So Maya's origin is also Krishna. And when the creation happens, the universes are actually emanating from Krishna's body. So that means he is the origin of both matter and spirit. Then it is said that he is his immortality and he is also death personified. So his immortality for for the devotees because they are going to get liberated, but his death personified for those who are asuras, like they are not devotees. So they will remain in this cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. So if we remember Krishna at the time of death, then he is immortality. If you do not remember Krishna at the time of death, then he is death personified, and we will again come and remember in this cycle. Sorry, remain in this cycle. So that is how we can see him. And what else was mentioned? Yeah, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. So heat and rain both are coming from Krishna only. So that is how we can see that both spirit and matter are coming from Krishna, as well as the death and the immortality is also coming from Krishna. So this is how, and these are just only few examples which are given here by Lord Shri Krishna himself, that how these worshippers of the universal form see him in everything in this material world. But we have seen in the seventh chapter more things like taste of water and everything like the sun and moon and everything that is coming and the digestive fire, everything is Krishna. So we have already seen that. So these are different vibhutis of the Supreme Lord. And here we can see that how some of these worshippers of universal forms, how they see Krishna everywhere. Sudharma Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a question. So, can you give examples of anyone like in the current, like Kali Yuga, looking at Vishnu in the universal form? Do we have any sect of people? Or
Yes, Mataji. I think there are a lot of people who worship the material nature as the supreme. And I remember many years ago, there was a group of a few um, like Indian people. They came, and somehow or the other, I just met them in city. We were doing something, and I met them in the city on the street or somewhere, and I helped them. Oh, I remember. Yeah, yeah. So I went to actually keep some Bhagavad Gitas into some one of the motels many years ago. And uh, when I was actually coming out of there, then this group of Indian tourists who came, and I met them by chance there. So I mentioned to them that, and I spoke to them, and I figured out that they were also they were on to some pilgrimage, spiritual pilgrimage, it seems, to New Zealand. And I was wondering, so I said, okay, you can come to temple because they were some spiritually minded people. So I said, come to the temple, and they came to the temple, and I spoke to them and their leader, and then I came to know that they are actually worshipping nature. So they came because Like the very beautiful nature is there in New Zealand. So oceans they will see, the mountains they will see, and they are thinking that this is Krishna or this is God. They are not saying that that was Krishna. They are saying that this is God. We worship this. And there are also, if you see, there are many people or many areas where the people worship ocean as the supreme. So these are the people who are worshipping the Supreme Lord in the universal form. Is that okay?
But Prabhuji, but they are not okay. They are worshipping the nature as the supreme personality or God, but they don't recognize that that is Krishna, right, or Vishnu.
Yeah, that is correct. Similar to like Ekatvena, actually all these three are the lower in lower forms of Krishna worshipper, lower levels of Krishna worshippers, and that is the re main reason. So Mahatmas are the highest because they are completely absorbed in Krishna. Sukritinas are the next level. They are coming to Krishna for a particular purpose. At least they are coming to Krishna though. Like they are whether Artha, Artharthi, or Jigyasu, they are coming to Krishna for a particular purpose. But then the lower level than that are these Ekatvena, Pruthatvena, and Vishwatomukham. They are worshipping Krishna in an indirect way, in a kind of indirect way. Monists, they are Ekatvena, they are worshipping themselves. They are thinking that I am the supreme. Aham Brahmasmi. I am also supreme, you are also supreme, everyone is supreme. So they are actually looking or worshipping that Brahman feature, but they are still deriding the Supreme Lord when it comes in the human form, and that is why they remain in this material world. Then we are going to talk about Devata worshippers, and we can Krishna says that they are worshipping me only, but they are doing it avidhi purvakam. So it is not they are not doing it properly. But
Yes,
this universal form worshippers, they are a little bit higher than that because they are worshipping uh, the material nature as the supreme, and they are seeing God in that material nature.
yes,
So the good thing about them is that they are not deriding the supreme personality of Godhead.
yes, Prabhuji. Thank
A
you, Prabhuji.
part of the of Krishna's energy, they are taking it as supreme.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So there is a subtle difference between the three. Yes.
Thank you,
Is that
Prabhuji.
okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Now, in the next section, we are going to see from verse number 20 to 25, the Supreme Lord is now talking about the Devata worshippers, worshipping other Devatas. Let us look at what is mentioned here. Verse number 20. Traividyamam soma paputa papa yajnairištva swargatim prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan.
Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. We'll just read next one as well because which is related. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punne martalokam vishanti evam trayi dharmam anuprapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante. Yes, Sannivas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
When they have when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Thank you, Mataji. So as you can see in these two verses, 20 and 21, the Devata worshippers are mentioned and what result that they will get is also mentioned. So what is mentioned earlier? That those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planet, so their goal is itself is seeking to go to heavenly planet and enjoy more. they worship me indirectly. So they are worshipping the Supreme Lord only, but they are worshipping indirectly because they are worshipping the devatas. So purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planets of Indra where they enjoy godly delights. So this is what they wanted. So ye yathamam prapadyante tam sateva bhajameham. You wanted to enjoy, I will give you enjoyment. But of course, only if your sinful reactions are gone and you are pious, and then you are actually following these Vedic rituals by which you can go to Swargaloka. If you are doing like that, then I will reciprocate with you accordingly, and then you can go to heavenly planets. But what happens after you go there is mentioned in the next verse. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures. So vast heavenly sense pleasure. It is not little bit you have been given. You can enjoy in heavenly planet. Vast heavenly pleasures are there, sense pleasures. But as soon as you actually go to Swargaloka, then what happens? Shine Punne Marte Lokam Vishanti. Kshine Punne. That means you have like this credit card full of some money which is given to you in Swargaloka. And every time you do sense enjoyment, your card is swiped. And then some amount is deducted from it. Some pious credits are deducted. Then you go to the next shop, you do more sense enjoyment. Then again your card is swiped. And slowly, slowly your money is reducing. Kshine punne. It is reducing, and finally it will become zero. And then you go to the sense enjoyment shop and you try to swipe, and then you start falling from there, from Swargaloka to Martyaloka. So that is how then you actually come down. So you actually gather some pious credits by doing those sacrifices and those pious activities, and then you are going to the heavenly planet. Then heavenly planet is a bhoga loka, so you can just enjoy there as much as you want. But it is when you are saying as much as you want, it is depending on how much credit you have accumulated in your previous life. And then you go with that credit card, you start enjoying, then your credit card actually comes down. When it becomes zero, again you fall down to this material world. So what happens is, so they enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures, and the result of their pious activities are exhausted. So slowly, slowly they get exhausted, and they return to this mortal planet again. So that is why Srila Prabhupada actually mentions this or refers to this as a Ferris wheel. So in the wheel, like in the you get to go to these amusement parks, and there are these giant wheels, and then you sit on that, and then it will take you up, and then again you come down. Then it will again take you up, again it will come down. So it is like that wheel, it is going on. So you come to this earthly planet, then again you do pious activities, and then again you go to heavenly planet, then you enjoy, your credit expires, then again you come down, then again you do it. Then it like that cycle goes on. But this is like the cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. So after some time, you should think, Arey, what am I doing? I'm just going up and down, up and down, up and down. What is the fun in that? So why I am actually enjoying for a little while, some little sense gratification get, but then again I have to come here to this earthly planet and go through this cycle of birth, old age, death and disease, so much suffering that I have to go through because it is Dukhalayama Shashwatam. It was mentioned already. So in this Dukhalayama Shashwatam, you have to go through all these problems. Then you do austerities, you do this karma kanda. Again, I go up. So when will I get eternal happiness? And when this inquiry comes that when will I get eternal happiness? How will I get eternal happiness? Then our spiritual journey can start. Because just like when you have a particular goal, for that you go to the Vedas and you will get you get the activities to do to achieve that goal. So earlier, when we saw in the 20th verse, they had this desire for seeking the heavenly planets. So if you have a desire to seek heavenly planet, you go to the Brahmana and say that, hey, I want to go to heavenly planet. Is there any solution in Vedas for that? He said, okay, yeah, yes, it is there. You do these activities and you will go back. But then when you go to the Brahmana and say that, hey, my goal is not now heavenly planets. I have been there a lot of times. And yeah, there is little enjoyment there, but finally I have to come here and suffer here. I don't want this kind of enjoyment. I want eternal happiness. How can I get that? He'll say, "Arey, for that, Vedas have also this other thing. You do bhakti and you can easily go back to Godhead." And that is how then we can come to the right path. You can take the process of yoga, especially bhakti yoga, which is the easiest, simplest, fastest, and then that way we can go back to Godhead. But for these people currently, the devata worshippers, what is mentioned? That they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. So even there is some little enjoyment, but still they go through this cycle of birth, old age, death, and disease. So worshipping other devatas, verse number 20 is saying that they also worship Krishna, but they worship indirectly. And what is the result of their worship? Because they are worshipping indirectly, they fall down and lose whatever they have gained. So they go to heavenly planet with that desire, but finally they fall down and lose whatever they have achieved from their worship. So the result, and we saw this earlier as well in the 7th chapter, that the results are temporary. That if you are worshipping the Supreme Lord, then the results are eternal. If you are worshipping the devatas, then the results are temporary. And we saw there at that time that if we want the eternal result, then you have to go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you keep worshipping the devatas, then you will get some result, but you will lose that over a period of time. Sudharma Mataji and Mahendra Prabhu, you have some question or some comments?
Prabhuji, sorry, Prabhuji, quick question, Prabhuji. So, verse 20 and 21, is that also referring to demigod worship? Because it's talking about who's studying Vedas, right, Prabhuji? Are they also same as those who are worshipping Devatas?
Yeah. So mainly the Vedas are mainly covering Karma Kanda section. So that is why those who are worshipping the Vedas and doing these sacrifices, which are mentioned in Vedas for their sense enjoyment, they are continuously in that context. It is mentioned, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just curious.
Yes.
In verse 17, Krishna mentions Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda. So only three Vedas. Here in this verse also he mentions that by adhering to the principles of three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Why does what about Atharva Veda? Why it is not mentioned here? Just
Yeah,
curious.
I also have the same question as you, Prabhuji. No, actually, I looked at Veda base some time ago to understand why only these three Vedas are mentioned. So, at one place, Srila Prabhupada mentions that originally there was only one Veda, and that one Veda was called Atharva Veda. And then Vyasadeva actually split that Veda into four parts. So, Atharva, like the Samaveda, Rigveda, Yajurveda, and the remaining part which was actually split was kept Atharva Veda. And that is why, because Atharva Veda is that original Veda, and then the three parts are done from it, actually four parts. So he extracted some parts into the three, and then the remaining kept as Atharva Veda. That is why they actually refer to as only the three Vedas. That is one thing.
Okay.
Then there was Bhaktivinoda Thakur as well. In one place, it was mentioned that some people say that Atharva Veda is a new edition of the book, that it was written quite later in the cycle, that originally it was only split into three. And some people say that this fourth part of the Vedas, Atharva Veda, has come little later, written by someone else. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that that is not correct, because there are many scriptures where they refer to Atharva Vedas as well as, and they refer to verses from Atharva Veda. So Atharva Veda is also as old as these other Vedas. So that is what it is mentioned. So the only explanation I can see is this, that originally it was called one, and Atharva Veda, and then it was split into Samaveda, Rigveda, and Yajurveda, and then remaining remained as Atharva Veda. So some people also say that Atharva Vedas, because all these other parts are taken out of it. Atharva Veda kept only the materialistic part. So after removing all this, the knowledge into Sama, Rig, and Yajur, Atharva Veda only had the materialistic part of the Vedas which was remaining. So that is why it is sometimes it is not referred. But there are many actually good verses in Atharva Veda as well, which refers to the Supreme Lord. So the only good explanation I thought was what Srila Prabhupada gave, which I mentioned in the beginning. Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. Vibhor, Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, just adding on to that, in 17th purport, in the last 4 lines, they actually mentioned Atharva Veda as well. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe its verse does not cover it, but somewhere in the purport they're covering it.
Yeah, of course. There are 4 parts to Vedas, and that is why Srila Prabhupada is covering all 4.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, fine. Shall we go ahead, or are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Now, in the 2 verses, actually, I said earlier that this section 20 to 25 is talking about Devata worshippers, but that is not completely true. Suddenly, in between, Krishna introduces this important verse, verse number 22, and Krishna has actually repeatedly done this. He likes to show contrast. Earlier as well, many places we have seen that he actually gives something and then a contrasting verse he will give just to explain the difference. So now he has explained the result of worship of devatas in 21. So to contrast that, he explains what is the result of worshipping me, worshipping Krishna. Very famous verse number 22. अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम्. Yes, Uma Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry out what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. It's a very famous verse, and especially these words you would have seen earlier as well. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. Where have you seen those words?
LIC, Prabhuji.
LIC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in Life Insurance Corporation of India, they have their logo and they have this Yogakshemam Vahamyaham written in that logo. So actually, LIC is not doing Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Krishna is actually doing Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. That what it says is, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So whatever you have, Krishna will preserve. And whatever you do not have, Krishna will provide. Isn't that amazing scheme Krishna is providing? But it is available to only certain people. And the first word of this verse itself is explaining who can get it. It is Ananya devotees, Ananya bhaktas, Ananyas chintayanto mam, who is doing exclusive devotion, Ananya. So they are not the devotees who are worshipping Krishna on one day and someone else on some other days. No, their worship is Ananya. Krishna is my Lord and Master. He can do whatever everyone else can do. So they have this firm faith that if he's like, not if, they have this firm faith that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is the point in going to this Devata or that Devata or that Devata? Whatever they can provide, Krishna can provide. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is why their worship is Ananya, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. They are exclusively thinking of the Supreme Lord. And also there is another word which is mentioned in this, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam. Nitya, Nitya Abhiyukta. What is that? They are always worshipping me. So they are doing exclusive worship and they are doing it always. So such people who are doing Ananyas Chintayanto Mam and Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam. For them, what Krishna does, he is doing Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. I will carry what you have, and I will protect what you have, and I will provide you what you lack. So that is what Krishna does. And we see so many examples. And there is a famous story of Arjunacharya, which is generally quoted in context of this verse. So I'll mention this story. So this Arjunacharya was a Brahmana, a devotee of Krishna, and he was once writing the commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And when he was writing this commentary, when he came to this specific verse, and he read Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Vahamyaham means he will carry it himself. And he started thinking, carrying it himself? Why will he carry this burden for the devotees? So he thought that there must be some mistake in this Sanskrit. And instead of, so he cut this Vahamyaham and he changed that to Karomyaham. So Vahamyaham means I will do it myself. And Karomi Aham means I will get it done from someone else. So the idea was that say suppose someone is very, very important. Say some important guest comes to your house. Then you will actually drop everything and you will look after that guest. But if say suppose someone comes who is not that very important from your perspective and they want to go somewhere, then instead of you going with them, you will find someone, hey, can you actually take them to go around in Wellington and show them around? So you do not do it because it is not important for you. So you are just asking someone else to do it. Isn't it right? So that is what we actually find. We delegate it to someone else. But look at Mother Yashoda. She has so many dasis who are available for her to churn the yogurt. But she is thinking, no, no, they can't do it properly. I will do it myself because I can do best for my Krishna. So even though they are doing this service, which is a menial service, and there are so many people who can do it, that they have so many people, the devotee doesn't think that it is a burden to do service for Krishna. And the same thing happens for Krishna as well. Krishna also doesn't think that it is a burden. For example, why Krishna has to become a chariot driver for Arjuna? That's a menial service for Krishna status. So, but he actually still does it because it is a burden, but it is a burden of love. And when it is a burden of love, it doesn't matter. So, oh, there is, before I complete the story of Arjunacharya, I remembered another story. So I'll just explain that burden of love. So uh, there was some bandits who came from up the mountain, and there was a village in the valley. So the bandits came and they ransacked the village and they gathered all the wealth, but they also carried a small baby with them to the mountain. And then after they have like they went, they are thinking that they will just that one more person when the boy grows up, then it will be another bandit that we will have. So from that perspective, they have actually kidnapped. So after the bandits are gone, all the villagers came together. They said that wealth was not problem, no problem, but now they have taken our children from the village. So we must go and get our children back, our child back. So they looked at all the strong people in the village. They gathered them and they said that you are the strongest 10 people in the village. So why don't you go and to go up this mountain, because the mountain is also very difficult to climb. So it was not an ordinary job to go and get even first of all climb the mountain. Then what to speak of going and taking the baby from there and bringing it back. So it was very, very hard. So they actually selected these people and they said that you go. And these 10 people were finding it so hard. They actually went little bit, then they took some rest, and they were looking at the mountain and thinking, oh, how will we go there? And this and that is what going on. And then they reached only the half the mountain, then they were resting, and then they saw The mother of the child who was kidnapped, she was coming down the mountain with the child. And they were really surprised. They say that, oh, you are such a weak woman. We are so strong, and we are only reached this half the mountain, and you have already gone up the mountain and got the baby, and you are already halfway through down. How is that possible? And you are carrying this baby as well while you are coming down. And she answered very, very simply. She said, because it is not your baby, it is mine. That is why I'm taking this much effort, because it is not a burden for me. It is the burden of love. You are thinking that, oh, it is difficult to climb, it is difficult to climb. But for me, I'm not thinking about it is this mountain is an obstacle at all. I'm thinking, oh, my baby is gone, I have to go. So she just went and somehow or the other got the baby back. And she is not finding it difficult. So it is the burden of love that is there. So when there is love, then there is no burden. So this vahamyaham may seem that, oh, it is burdensome. Why will Krishna carry himself? So Arjunacharya also had this doubt. And he thought that, okay, Krishna will get it done. Why will he do it for everyone? So there must be some mistake. So why will he carry this burden? So he took a pen, he struck that vahamyaham, and he said karomyaham. And now he thought that, oh, this looks proper. And then because he was a poor Brahmana, so he did this. And then he said that, okay, let me go and get now some madhukari, I will go and beg for some food and then some grains or whatever, and then my wife can cook. That is what the Brahmanas would do. They will ask for, they will beg for the grains, and then that is how they will survive and they will live like that. So Arjunacharya went. After he has gone for some time, there was a knock on the door. And when his wife opened the door, thinking that Arjunacharya has come, but he saw these two beautiful boys who came, and they had lots of things on their head. Some was carrying grain, some was carrying vegetables, fruits, and all of that, and it was quite heavy. And they said that, oh, please, please take this from our head. This is for you. Arjunacharya has sent it to us. And please take it, and we want to go quickly. Otherwise, your husband will come and he will beat us again. And she was confused. What do you mean beat us again? That means he has beaten you up before? And she said, I can't believe it because my husband is so humble and so caring. He's so compassionate. He can't beat you so beautiful two boys. And this one boy who was dark in complexion, he immediately showed the back and said, see, these are the marks of your husband beating us. So please take this. We want to go quickly before he comes back. Otherwise, we will be beaten again. So she's surprised that, Arey, how is that possible? But now he's showing the marks on the back as well. So she kept everything and she cooked with the things which was sent by Arjunacharya through these two boys, beautiful boys. And then at that time, Arjunacharya comes home. And unfortunately, he hasn't gotten anything that day. So when he sees that wife has already cooked everything, and he's wondering where did she get everything from? So when he asked, so first thing wife asked that, hey, why did you beat those boys? He said, which boys? So you sent those two boys with all these things, grains, vegetable, fruits, but you also beat them. They were so beautiful and they were so nice. And why did you do that? And he's confused. He said, what kind of boys you're talking about? Explain to me how they were looking like. And then she explains that one was with beautifully dark complexion, and then the second was very white in complexion, and explains the feature of these boys. And then Arjunacharya it dawns onto him. He understands that, oh, his wife was so fortunate that she had just got darshan of Krishna and Balaram. And the beating on the back is actually this uh, cut that I did on the verse where I said Vaham Meham. I did not believe, I did not have faith that Krishna will do it himself. So he came to show that yes, I am doing it myself for you. It is not Karo Meham. I don't just send anyone. And sometimes Krishna will send someone as well. Like for in our case, we should not be thinking that, oh, every time Krishna only has to come. Sometimes Krishna will actually send someone for helping us. Sometimes, for example, we are making some mistake in our devotional service, or sometimes we are going in the wrong path. And at that time, some other devotee, or even just like a third person who we do not even know, they may also correct us and show some way that, hey, this is not the right thing to do like this. So this is the help that Krishna provides. And sometimes in some extreme situations, he will actually come himself as well. And especially when I'm saying extreme situations, actually that's the wrong word. When there is this loving relationship which is there, uh, completely loving relationship, pure love, then he will come himself and he will do it. So that is how it is Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. And we can see so many examples where Krishna has done it himself. And of course, the devotees are also doing so many things for the Supreme Lord out of love, even though they can engage many other people in Krishna's service. So we can see that Krishna protected Prahlad Maharaj. Now, uh, what does Krishna protect? Does he protect our material things that we have, or material opulence that we have, or does he protect the consciousness that we have? What do you think?
Consciousness.
He protects consciousness. Okay. Does he protect something material as well sometimes?
Yes.
Yes, correct. So mainly he protects the consciousness. And he has said already in the second chapter itself, Neha Bikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate. Swalpam apyasa dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That little bit devotional service as well you do, there is no loss or no diminution. Like earlier we were talking about this 21 verse where it was going down and down, like the credit card money was reducing. So there is pratyavaya, or it gets completely removed. So that is not the case for devotional service or any credits that we get from devotional service. They remain eternally. So I lost my track. What I was mentioning, that pratyavayona vidyate. So devotional service is eternal, and um, consciousness is protected by the Supreme Lord. And whatever little devotional service we have done, we start from, if we somehow or the other, if we do not complete the devotional service in this life, then in the next life, we just continue from there. So that is what Krishna is actually providing to us. And we saw the example earlier, I think in the 2, 3 sessions ago, we were talking about Bharat Maharaj, how he became a deer, and from deer again he became Jada Bharata, but still his consciousness was protected. And his absorption in Krishna became more and more in his next lives. So from Bharat to deer, his consciousness was even more absorbed in Krishna. And again in Jada Bharata, it was even further advanced. So that is how Krishna protects the consciousness. But in some cases, he will also give material protection, like protection of the body, protection of the chastity. Like in Draupadi's case, he protected her. In Prahlad Maharaja's case, he uh, protected his body. That Hiranyakashipu was trying to kill him in different ways, but he came and protected. So as Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So we should understand this verse very, very clearly, that how Krishna is reciprocating with his devotees. And this is in contrast with the previous verses that we saw in the devatas, how they are uh, looking after their devotees, that they are only getting some temporary result. But here in this verse, we can see that Krishna is so loving and caring that he actually comes personally to do all of these things, all of this service for his devotees. And if you remember, actually, I remember this another context in uh, this related to this verse, that when we were talking about the previous chapter, there we saw that if you actually die in a particular time, that especially we were talking about if there is a period of fire god, And in that period, if you actually die, then we talked about that how the fire god will take you to a particular position, and then from there he will hand you over to someone, and then some other devata will take you to up to another level. Then another devata will pick you. It is like pass the parcel. They will take us from one level to another, to another, to another. But here Krishna is saying that I will come myself to do it. I will not actually delegate it to anyone else. I will come and I will take you from here, and I will take you to my abode. So this is a wonderful benefit of Ananya Bhakti, which is mentioned in this verse. Let us move ahead. Oh, okay. Let us move fast. So on this verse, we saw that those who worship Krishna undistractedly never lose anything. Let's go to verse number 23. येऽपि अन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्वितः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्य अविधिपूर्वकम्. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So here Krishna is mentioning that okay, it was they were worshipping indirectly to me earlier, but do they get the same result or similar result, or why they do not get the same result? Because he has already mentioned the contrast that they actually do not get the same result. So why is that? So he has explained that reason here. And what is the reason? He's saying uh, that they worship me, but in an unauthorized way. So it is avidhi purvakam. So they don't get the same result because they are doing it in the wrong way. Vidhi means actually worshipping as per the proper process. Vidhi purvakam means following the proper process for worshipping. And avidhi purvaka means you are following an improper or wrong process of worshipping. So the scriptures are telling us what is the vidhi purvakam worship. If you want to do vidhi purvakam worship, then you have to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Anyone else is avidhi purvakam, is mentioned here. So if you do avidhi purvakam worship, then you are going to get the different result. If you worship me, then yoga kshemam vahamyaham will happen. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport gives this two examples that how avidhipurukam worship is similar to watering the leaves and branches instead of watering the root. So if you want to water a plant, you have to water the root. But if you actually think that, oh, I don't want to do like this, and you will just take two, three leaves, there's one section of the plant, and you say, okay, these are the only few leaves that I'm going to water. So that you are not actually going to nourish the entire tree. And he gives a second example of how to actually feed the body. You can't feed the body by just taking the gulab jamun in the hand and just doing like this and squeezing it. No, if you want to get the nourishment from the gulab jamun, then it has to go into the stomach. And then the stomach has to digest it, and then you will get the energy into the body. So stomach is the right place. It is watering the root is the right way to do it. That is the vidhi purvakam. But avidhi purvakam, if you try to do, then you will not get the benefit of doing it vidhi purvakam. And it is also not like uh, you like Krishna, you worship Krishna. I like some other devata, I will like that. I will worship that. And finally, it is all as per our liking, and we can worship anyone what we like, and then we will get similar result. It is not like that. The scriptures are telling us whom to worship and what is the benefit or what is the result of worshipping them. No one is actually forcing anyone to worship this devata or that devata or Supreme Lord Krishna. But the results are going to be different. So you have to understand what is the result. And is that the result that you are looking for? If that is the result you want, then fine, you continue what you are doing. But if you want a different result, like if you want an eternal happiness, if that is the result that you are looking for, then you have to worship Krishna. And Krishna actually explains that further in verse number 24 and 25. So it is avidhi purvakam worship, and we saw these two examples. So 24. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhureva cha na tu mam abhijananti tatvena tascha vantite. Who wants to read? Yes, Sudananda Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So these people fall down because they do not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the Yajna Bhokta. So Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasa, he has already mentioned, but those who do not know his transcendental nature, and he is the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. So even if you are doing a yajna for some other devata, Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer of that sacrifice. But you do not understand that, and you are actually doing it thinking that someone else is Bhokta. He is the enjoyer of that sacrifice. And because you are doing this avidhi purvakam, you are doing it with a wrong consciousness. That is why you do not get the right result out of it. And to summarize all of this, then he speaks this another famous verse, which is 25, verse number 25. Yanti devavrata devan pitrun yanti pitruvratah bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajinopi mam. Who wants to read? Okay, Sudharma Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So what Krishna has mentioned, that different worshippers will get different destination. So you may have heard people saying that, oh, you worship anyone, finally it is going to the same Lord. It is only one Lord. He has taken different forms, and that is why whatever path you want to take, you take, but finally you will reach the same destination. That is absurd. Like if you go to the airport, buy the ticket from Wellington to go to Auckland, and then you also sit in a plane which is going to Auckland, and then you are thinking that you will go to Christchurch. No, that is not going to work. So from Wellington, if you go to northern side, then you are going to go there to Auckland. But if you go to the southern side, then you will go to Christchurch. How come you are thinking that any route you take, you will reach the same destination? No, different routes is they are going to lead you to different destinations. And Krishna has given different examples here in this verse. 4 examples he has given. And they are in 4 different modes. So he's saying, Yanti Devavrata Devan. Ki if you worship the devatas, which is the worship in mode of goodness. If you worship the devatas, because when we already talked about that um, you have removed all the sinful reactions and you are doing pious activities which are mentioned in the scriptures, then you will go to the heavenly planet. That means they are pious people, which is in mode of goodness. So, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare
So
Krishna.
somehow or the other, there was a internet. I think it stopped working, and my Zoom call stopped. Anyway, I think because we are towards the end of this, so we'll just continue and then finish from there. So, what I was mentioning, that the worship is mentioned, different kind of worship is mentioned here. So you can't see the slide, but that's not a problem. There were just 1 or 2 slides which were remaining, and I'll explain to you. So Yanti Devavratan Devan, we talked about that it is the worship in mode of goodness. And Pitrun Yanti Pritruvrata. So I was mentioning earlier on that many times we see that some people keep the photos of their ancestors or forefathers like that. They will be in the altar and they are worshipping them. But what is the result? So it is mentioned that who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors' place. So you never know where your ancestors are gone. And if you worship your ancestors, wherever they are, you will reach there. So if you are fortunate, and if they were devotees and they have gone to the planet of the Supreme Lord, then you are fortunate that you will reach there. But generally, the forefathers are in this Pitru Loka. So you will just reach there. And that is not what is your goal. So that is why it is mentioned that it is like a kind of a mode of passion worship. And then Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja. So if you worship the ghosts and spirit, then you will take birth among such beings. And there are people who actually want to worship these ghosts and spirits. And this is the worship in mode of ignorance. And this is not a recommended way of worship, of course. So when they worship like that, then they will reach those planets. So the different worshippers will get different destinations. But the last line or last part of this verse, Krishna says, Yanti Madhya Jinopimam. But if you worship me, you will live with me. So then we will go to the supreme abode of the Supreme Lord, which is Goloka Vrindavan, and we will stay with him. So that is what is mentioned here. So this saying that sometimes people say that whatever you do, you will get the same result is not true. So the two main lessons that we can actually get from this today's section. The first one is from that verse number 22 that we saw, that Ananya Shintayanto Mam. And the lesson that is there is do exclusive worship of the Supreme Lord, and he will provide what you lack and preserve what you have. So Ananya Shintayanto Mam was mentioned, and it was Nityabhyuktanam was mentioned. So we have to regularly worship him, and we have to exclusively worship. And that kind of worship we should do for the Supreme Lord. And if we do like that, then what happens is, then he will do Yoga Kshema Maha. That is the first lesson. And from this last verse that we saw, now the verse number 25, we can see that not all worship leads to the same goal. So not all worship leads to the same goal, and hence we have to worship the Supreme Lord to go to his eternal spiritual abode. So if you worship others like Bhuta or Pretas or your forefathers or devatas, then we will go to their planet, not to the Supreme Lord's planet. So this is what we actually saw this today. So we will stop here. If anyone has any question, comments, reflections, then we'll take them now. Or if anyone wants to mention any summary points. I'm not able to see who is raising the hand, so you can just probably go ahead and say, because I'm on the mobile phone now.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I ask a question? What happens to people who worship Vishnu or other avatars of Vishnu instead of Krishna himself?
Yeah. So they are also considered as Krishna worship. So Krishna and Vishnu worship are non-different. So when we actually say that we have to worship Krishna, we generally say that like it is the Vishnu Tattva you can worship. And if you worship Krishna's other forms, then you will go to their planets. So each form of the Supreme Lord has their own planet. So if you worship Lord Narasimhadev, you will go to Lord Narasimhadev's Vaikuntha planet. If you worship Varahadev, then you will go to Varahadeva's Vaikuntha planet. And if you worship Krishna, then you will go to Goloka Vrindavan. So that is how it is. But they are all part of the spiritual world. They are all, it is good to do that, Roji. No problem. Okay.
Thank you, bro.
Anyone else has question, comments, or reflections?
A quick reflection, Prabhuji.
Yes,
I was a bit curious when the chapter started why it is marked as the most confidential knowledge. But like going through all these verses now, I realize like, most of those I'm marking them as a like, a fluorescent green. Like every verse is like really good, and it's coming from Krishna's own words. Yeah, and that's I guess one of the key point which I had marked. You have already mentioned that that's a wonderful benefit in your own words. Wonderful benefit of Ananya Bhakti is Krishna himself will come for his devotees so regularly and exclusively worship Supreme Lord Krishna.
Yes.
This is the bottom line for me.
Yes. Very wonderful realization, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Anyone else has any other question, comments? Or any other summary points that you want to mention?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
It's just Krishna saying Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, that he will get what we lack and he will preserve what we have.
Yes, Vedi Mataji, yeah. So, was that a comment or a question that you're asking?
Summary point, Prabhuji.
Oh, summary point. Yes, yes, very good.
Hare Krishna.
Excellent. Yes. Surananda Prabhuji, you're raising your hand. Yes,
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. We should always worship Krishna. Then it is clear that you can go back to him, not to any other planets.
correct. So it is a misconception that no matter who you worship, you will achieve the same goal. That is not true. Depending on who you worship, you will get different result. Yes, very good. Vibhor Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, question actually, between verses 15 to 16, there are 15 pages, 15 plates, which shows different versions starting from Srila Prabhupada and ending till all the avatars. Does it mean anything or do we skip
actually,
that?
yeah, very good question, Prabhuji. It is, if you actually look at each of the picture there, Prabhuji, there is a commentary there. And that commentary refers to a verse for which the picture has been put there. So if you actually look at, so plate 13, for example, in my picture, it is showing that how a person gets different kind of form in the next life. And for me, it is mentioned that at the time of death, the consciousness created by the living being carries him to his next body. And it refers to page 640. So in my Bhagavad Gita, that is the reference that is given. So all the colored pages that they have put together, but they are referring to something which is given in the Bhagavad Gita elsewhere. So if you can actually look at all those pictures, and then for each of the plate which is mentioned, you can see which verse it is referring to. And many times on the slides, we have utilized those pictures. For example, if you go and see this picture where the soul is traveling from from boyhood to old age, it's plate 5. We have already seen that picture when we were talking about the second chapter. Then this plate 6, which is showing Krishna is controlling the 3 modes, and the 3 modes are then controlling everyone. We have also seen this picture before in the slides.
Ji Prabhuji.
Yeah. So many of these we have referred, and this plate 9, which is the 5 horses are compared to this 5 senses, and then the intelligence is the chariot driver. All of that we have also seen. So I'm utilizing them when we are going through some various different things. But if you want to actually look at all those pictures, then please have a look and read what is mentioned below. Go to that page which is referred, and then also read the context, and then you will get more information.
Ji, thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Janaki Mataji, you have raised your hand earlier.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, then with pranam, there is a reflection from my side. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Where Krishna says that it provides us what they lack. They say that Krishna provides what they lack. So that means like he's providing us what is favorable in the path of bhakti. Is that correct?
Yes, of course. Krishna helps us into our bhakti. And I also gave an example, if you remember, that sometimes when we are deviating or making some mistake, then Krishna, through someone like either our guru or some other mentors, counselors, or some other devotees who are around us, they will help us in particular way. And sometimes from within as well, Krishna who's sitting in our Paramatma, so in our heart as Paramatma, so he can also tell us from within that what we are doing is wrong and what we should do. So that also he can do. So, and of course, the other examples that we saw, Prahlad Maharaj, Bharat Maharaj, and Draupadi. So he will also provide what we are lacking at sometimes.
Yeah, but especially what is favorable in the path of bhakti, right? Because in other side we saw the example of Bali Maharaja, because he takes away everything because he has pride in it, like he achieved everything kind of thing. So
yeah, so Bali Maharaja's example, sometimes we misquote it, that everything was taken away. I actually see it from that example that everything what he did not have was given to him. That who else? You show me another example in the scriptures for whom Krishna has become their doorman. There is only one example like that, which is Bali Maharaj. And he was given everything that he wanted plus more.
yeah.
So it was not, I would say temporarily, it is seen that everything was taken from him just to glorify Bali Maharaj, that even after everything was taken from him, he was still surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And then Vamana Dev reciprocated with Bali Maharaj and gave him the Patal Loka. But because Bali Maharaj was saying that, oh, in Patal Loka, it is all atheistic. What will I do there and how will I remember you? He said, don't worry, I will be there on your door. So now as well, Vaman Dev is on Bali Maharaj as a doorkeeper, he's still there. So whenever Bali Maharaj is going out, he will see the Lord. When he comes in, he will see the Lord. So he can't forget the Supreme Lord. Who has that facility? Isn't it? So it's a good example of Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, that Krishna is actually personally providing to Bali Maharaj. So not only gave Patal Loka, he also gave continuous darshan, but in the next life he will become, not next life, like when the time comes, when Indra's reign finishes, then Bali Maharaj will take up the Indra's position as well. And of course, he is now the example of Atma Nivedanam, pure devotee. So after that, he will go back to Godhead.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shivani Mataji?
And just a summary point and a reflection, Prabhuji, that Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. Like if there is a loving relationship, Krishna comes himself to help the devotees.
Yeah. Krishna doesn't feel that it is a burden. Yes. It is a burden of love, so that is not a burden at all. So it is like he is happy to actually carry that for us.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, reflections, or comments, or any summary points anyone wants to mention?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Krishna is everything. Is sacrifice, offering, ancestors, healing. Everything is Krishna. So we should worship Krishna, and was that if we do the pious karma, pious activities, we will go the heavenly planets.
Yeah, but I hope that is not the takeaway from today. That is the worship which is done by the devata worshipper as well as the worshipper of the universal form. We want to worship the Supreme Lord as a Supreme Lord, as in Bhagwan feature, and we follow the process of Mahatmas. So we want to actually walk in their footsteps, and by which we can make progress. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki